Ogres are like onions. They stink? No. Or they decay? No. Or we talk about something, 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 so on, something. No! Ogres are onions are layers. Ogre... Totally nailed that one. Hello there, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well. Welcome in, Shrek lovers, DreamWorks lovers, and overall stinky onion and ogre lovers. I am so excited to see the amazing Shrek 5 trailer that has been announced yesterday. And I didn't see much on Twitter due to spoilery sake, but let's just say the comments were a little bit feisty about the design and animation because they changed the styling from the old Shrek films that we remember so damn well to the new one. And the people are not too happy about the art style and thing, and people seems like they're making a big fuss over the new movie. And then again, we're literally gonna watch this today in this video to see what the hell is going on with all this rage about art style being so different that it's not good enough to accommodate to what we used to watch back in the old Shrek films, and animation feels a bit too, let's just say, off-putting and maybe not so fitting. And we're gonna react to this and we're gonna see what's all this fuss about, because I am so excited for Shrek 5 and a lot of people are excited for Shrek 5 because Shrek is known to be one of the most awesome DreamWorks and popular movies that people remember many years ago. And I grew up watching Shrek. Shrek was one of those films that you sit down with your family, have fun, laugh about ogres and onions and stinky farts and all that. It was like the real small funny shit. And we can't forget the amazing Eddie Murphy for being the fantastic and incredible voice actor absolutely for back in the days. Until this very day, he still nails it. So overall, the voice actors of the previous times still live up to this very day in terms of hype, and absolutely talented voice actors. And apparently I heard there's a lot of things that have been added into Shrek 5. So let's break it down and reveal this amazing Shrek 5 movie. So without further ado, we're gonna see what's this Shrek 5 is all about. Is it to what people are saying it's garbage, or should we say that this is maybe one of those films that people are expecting too much and maybe people are just giving it a hard time and not really giving it a chance? Let's find out, and then later on, after we watch this whole thing, we're gonna go into deep analysis to see what changes have they actually made based on in comparison to the other films, and what, in my opinion, could have they improved on. So without further ado, let's watch it. Oh baby, also we're watching in full HD. We're ready to go.
Hey, Magic Mirror, who's the fairest of them all? Why,
Shrek,
of course.
Oh no. Did they really?
Dad!
Ooh, Mama like.
Who's making this stuff?
The original voice actors! And a new voice actor.
Shrek 5.
Okay.
Cameron Diaz.
Eddie Murphy, Mike Myers,
Zendaya?
and Zendaya. Oh, these are phenomenal voice actors.
2026.
In 2026. Okay, well, that was a very, very short trailer that I did not expect. Although I did see a lot of things missing, and we're gonna dive into this deep analysis for this film. So here we go. Deep analysis time for the movie! Here we go, going into deep analysis. So question number one that I already noticed in somewhere right here. Where the hell are the two kids that he has? So I remember back in the days, I'm just using my little brain to go back in time of the Shrek movies that I watched. So if I remember correctly, Shrek and Fiona, they had 3 children, 2 boys, 1 girl. This is the daughter right here, we're seeing. And she's all grown up. She's basically around teenage or maybe adulthood. Young adult, shall we? And first things first, I can see maybe why people are complaining about the art style, because in judging in comparison to the old one, if we take a look at a comparison right here, we can see that overall, compared to this previous picture that people were showing on social media, you can slightly see there is a tiny little bit of things different. Maybe the color of the skin of the ogre, which is not that really a big deal because it's close there. It's not bad. I mean, we're not talking like Sonic Movie 1 bad shittery right there, because let's be real. If anyone out there is gonna complain about the art style, this is not like in comparison what happened to the Sonic 1 movie. That shit was horrible and terrifying. I mean, they literally tried to literally make a in real life Sonic with a realistic twist to it, and they made it so creepy and fucked up that people got traumatized remembering that shit, especially this guy talking in this video. And then, of course, they switched it to a much more cartoony, AI-driven style that they made it much more cuter and a little bit more easy on the eyes. So this art style that people are complaining about Shrek, I can see there is a tiny bit major improvements that they could implement. Maybe the eyes, I guess, at that point. And I noticed the eye colors were a little bit different on her side, but then again, like you see, I remember in the movie, in the other movies, when she was a baby, she had blue eyes, and maybe they're brown in here. That's not really a really crazy thing, because even though blue eyes are freaking pretty as fuck, but in comparison to how the realism of how genetically wise they change colors and all that, if you were to put it in a scientific matter, this actually makes sense, because there's a lot of scientific explanation behind it, so this is not really as crazy as people think, because they're like, oh, her eyes are not blue, so it's not as good as fitting as they showed in the other previous film. It's cool, guys. The eyes, in my opinion, are the least thing. I'm sure she would have looked pretty with blue eyes, but let's not make a big fuss out of it. I mean, that's just natural. Although, I'm gonna be honest, the eye thing and the expression looks okay. From my opinion, they made Pinocchio a little bit more cartoony from what I can compare to the other one. They made him more like modernish, cutesy-ish kind of cartoon vibes. I noticed the textures of the clothing is great, but in the old ones, it had a little bit more. They looked a little bit better, in my opinion. This is just texture-wise. I'm just looking at his usual clothing. Overall, yes, there is something about this design which is a little bit like underwhelming in comparison to the previous like OG Shrek films that we watched, especially if you go to Shrek 1, but the fact that people are complaining about the fact that he looks old, that's not validated, because people need to understand what the fuck narration really is. If people are gonna complain about Shrek looking old, that's not valid. Because people need to understand, this is the part of the story where let's go back in time. In Shrek, the previous film, he had 3 children. He was celebrating his son's birthday. And then he basically started getting angry because he had a family and he wanted to go back to his so-called normal life. And he made a contract with Stiltskin, or that little the elf thingy, I don't know what but he made a deal. He made a contract, and it made him go back in time where his kids didn't exist and all that. And then the whole morale of that story was he found out that he should cherish his family and should feel like blessed for the fact that he's got a very beautiful daughter, 2 beautiful boys, a wife, and all the magical friends that he made along the way, including Pinocchio and so on. And it all ended pretty much celebrating their son's birthday. And I remember the part, which was the most cutest part in the film, where he gave his daughter, which is here, a cute little, like, not teddy bear, like a doll, shaped as a Shrek, as an ogre. And it was the cutest interaction I remember in that film. And she literally told him, "Thank you, Daddy." And it was so cute. Until that day, we knew they were babies. They had 3 wonderful children. In here, we are seeing she grew up. She basically became teenage, adult age at this point, considering how much she grew. I just don't understand in what universe people are dreaming of. This is not fucking anime, guys. This is literally based on a sort of real-life scenario. What do you think is gonna happen if his kids grow up? Of course they're gonna have an old artistic style because they basically aged. They aged, people. Of course he's gonna look more old. He's not gonna look the same old Shrek as in Shrek 1. He's not gonna look as attractive as you thought he would be in Shrek 1. Maybe he was ugly in Shrek 1 for people who saw, but he's not uglier just because he's this way, because that's just normal. He's getting old, Fiona's getting old, others are getting old, even Donkey is getting old, so I mean, that's not validated. That's just part of the narration. You can't expect everyone to still be the sexy beast in terms of appearance-wise of what they looked like 6 years ago or 8 years ago. That's just invalid. This is not anime, guys. You just don't go back in time just to make yourself look sexy or all like that. I mean, we did see in Shrek 2 where he drank a potion and he became a handsome freaking human, but this has nothing to do with that. That was just a pretty much a situational thing that was not based on he wants to look... Well, it was based on the fact that he was judging himself and all that, and he was criticizing himself that he looks ugly or because he's an ogre, but this has nothing to do with it. This is going to probably be based off on the experience with his children, with his family. So of course you're gonna see kids like her literally grown up. In fact, at this point, since my assumption is they're all born on the same age, they're probably all gonna be adults. So the two boys that we're missing in this trailer, they're gonna be all grown up as her. They're gonna be young adults as her, just like her. So mark my words, they're probably gonna be the same age group. They're gonna be young adults. Boy ogres, girl ogre, right here. It's as simple as that. So people complaining about the fact that it is like crazy because they're older, that's just not valid. That's just BS. I mean, that's just called narration of the story. That's where the direction of the story is going. It is simple as that. Now, one thing I will say is that the expressions, we're gonna look at the expressions right here. What I will say in comparison to the old expressions, it feels a little bit weird, not super weird. It feels a little bit better and more expressive than the old ones, because the old ones were good and it felt maybe a little bit more natural. This feels a little bit more AI-ish thing, and in an AI-ish in a way that it feels like a little bit, tiny bit unnatural, but still, it's not to the point where it's completely ridiculous. Then again, we're at a point where this is too early in the film. So, the thing that people are missing is that this is only 27 seconds of this film. The thing is, we haven't seen any action scenes of this film, because as we all remember, in every Shrek movie, we always saw a scene where Shrek or someone has a battle scene. For example, Shrek 1, we saw Shrek fighting knights and so on. Shrek 2, we saw him fight against the fairy godmother. In Shrek the Third, he fought against witches and stuff like that. So there's always like a fight scene that takes place to see the ogres in action. In Shrek 5, they didn't show us that, which probably they're keeping like the trump card at last, because that's usually the best part of the whole thing, including the comedy stunts like this one, which was pretty funny and I loved it. Even though the whole Instagram, TikTok thing, I thought it was unnecessary, but that's just me. But it was still funny, so we'll leave it at that. They need to show us that part, because that part involves a lot of quick animation. And the quick animation used to be back in Shrek 1, when they had the slow motion effect, when the ogre was running away from the dragon with his helmet from the knights that he stole inside the castle, that they were dead, and he was running away and all that. That was pretty awesome little minor movie effects that made the film much more special in that action sequence. So the question mark is, how are they going to replicate close enough to what we used to know in terms of action sequence into this one? Because so far, it feels a tiny bit underwhelming. Expressive-wise, it looks decent. I will not say it's the best or the worst, it's decent. But I want to see the action part to truly make a rightful judgment. Now, in terms of color and all that, maybe I remember in the other Shrek movies, but the color was a little bit more like brighter green. This feels a little bit more like, I guess, dark-ish green. I'm not sure. Maybe spice up a little bit the colors would be great. Then again, this is on YouTube, but still, like spicing up the green would be a little bit better, in my opinion. Maybe the eyes they could fix. The shape of his head, I can feel it. It's a little bit weird. Maybe they can just widen his head just a little bit would be fine. Maybe because I remember the other picture, if you look at it, it feels like his head is a little bit wider. This one feels more like a like a mountain tower shaped, but it's not horrible. So I will repeat this to anyone watching this video. This is not like the same thing that what happened in the Sonic movie. The Sonic movie was a disaster. The Sonic movie, when it comes to design, the first time they published it, it was a nightmare fuel for everybody. So anyone out here sitting here saying this is like all Sonic 1 replication all over again, that has nothing to do with how terrible the Sonic 1 design phase was when they first published it. This is actually not as bad as people think, but there are some major improvements which could be implemented, and I just mentioned like the eyes maybe. The expressions are fine. I mean, expressions are good, so they're quite expressive. In fact, as we see here. You see, they're quite good expressively wise, so they're great. Even Donkey and all that, so overall expressive wise is good. Maybe the eyes are a little bit, and the eyebrows they could fix a little bit. I guess that maybe could help, but I mean, I'm gonna be honest, it's not the best. It's not the worst. There are some major improvements, and the thing is, people need to understand this is way too early to criticize anything. It's the same thing that happened with Sonic 1. Look how people, they were so angry with the fact that the design phase, and they had every right to be, because it was disaster. It was fucking horrible. But they listened, and they changed, and I'm sure that deep down, they still have time, that hopefully if DreamWorks actually want to implement those minor improvements, they will, because they have time to do it. They said it will be published on the 2026 on Christmas. So they have more than a year to do this. So there is still time. So I believe, in my opinion, it's right to speak up. It's right to talk about it, and doing a video like this to express what I think it's a good thing. But I think people are taking it a little bit too far with the negativity about this, because again, I will repeat this again, this is not like the same situation what happened to the Sonic 1 movie when it comes to design phase, because that was fucking nightmare as hell. But this, I can see why people are a little bit angry. I can see that the major improvements, which can be a little bit tricky to explain, because I understand that if you compare this to the OG that we saw back in the days, we need to understand that the companies, they don't have the tools or old technology that we used to use 8 years ago to make the same replication of the previous films. They have to adapt using new technology. And new technology can come to its own disadvantages and advantages, even financially wise. But that doesn't mean that they can't make it work. For example, to give you guys an idea, this is just my idea, okay? For example, Puss in Boots. The Puss in Boots movie that they released, I believe it was Puss in Boots Wish or something, where Puss fought the dog, and the dog was pretty much the death, like Reaper or something. That art style was fantastic. It was more like anime-ish, but what I mean is they don't have to replicate that same, like, effects or anything like that. But if they took the reference from that film and they tried to make something as close to that in terms of styling, maybe they would have fit it into this film. Then again, I could be wrong, but effects-wise, they don't have to replicate it because it doesn't need effects. The film, if it comes from a comedy point of view and a great action point of view, this film can be golden. I mean, think about it this way. Shrek 1, it had everything so good. It had the most part that people remember about Shrek is the comedy stunts. When, you know, Shrek interacting with Donkey and it's always funny and he tries to bully him and all. That's like the main thing that people know Shrek, is that he is so ugly, but in a way that he is ugly irresistible. Like, he is so good at being Shrek that despite him being ugly, he's just too good to ignore. He's just such a great character that he makes you laugh, he makes you angry for what he does to Donkey. He has a great personality all around. Being an ogre and going out of his ways to be someone else, even though we all know that we love the Shrek being him, is just a way that put us off guard and say what an absolute great character development Shrek has overall in the films, from where he came from Shrek 1 all the way to the latest Shrek movie, so you get to see all the character growth he's been through. And not just that, overall as a character, he's always been like the aggressive, comedic, bully kind of ogre. And he's still that same kind of ogre. It's just he dialed down because now he became a father. He has children. But then again, they can still spice it up in the movie. It doesn't mean he has to be the fatherly person. He just needs to be himself. So either way, they can still make it work. They have the potential to keep the narration of the story quite interesting. So we'll just need to wait and see what DreamWorks are gonna cook. But in my opinion,
So, but in my opinion, all the people out there complaining, I think you guys need to give this movie a little bit of time. Think you need to be patient because this is way too soon to judge. It's the same thing that happened with the Sonic movie. This is pretty much considered at the beta phase of the film. And they might change quite a lot of things throughout the film. They still have a year, so keep that in mind. They still have time. But overall, it's not as bad as people think. If people were to give this a chance, they might actually get used to it. But I'm not saying this is the best. I'm far from it. Like, I'm saying that it could use some improvements because I can see why people are angry, but this is not something that we should get too angry about. Again, this is not like the situation with the whole Sonic movie. We should tell them that they need improvement. We should express this in the positive way, but don't go in a way to bully others because they have an opinion about it and they say it's good, because at this point of view, it's not as bad as people think. And this might sound as an opinion, but compare it to the other ones, it's not the best. It's not the same, but it's not incredibly horrible either. So we need to keep that in mind. But then again, I am looking forward to see some improvements for this because this looks awesome. I loved it. I love the whole comedy thing. I love the actress. That's a very awesome actress that they put in this film. I love how they kept the OG actors, especially Mike. They kept so many freaking good actors, especially Donkey. So that's awesome, man. Like, they kept really awesome actors. They introduced an actor that people are very familiar of, and they know what an absolute talented goddess she is. So overall, this is great. I don't know what people are complaining. I don't know why people are so pissed off about it. This is great so far. Like, it needs some minor tweakings, but other than that, I can see this movie being fucking awesome. It's the same thing that happened with the Venom movie. People were complaining that it looked shit, but in my opinion, I thought the Venom movie was fucking awesome. Now, leave it, that's something else, but still, like, it's coming to a point where people nowadays in films, their expectations are becoming too high. And I understand how much they want to see the OG being replicated into the modernized films, which is not a bad thing because I like that and I agree with them. But at the same time, we need to understand that the technology we have nowadays, it's not available what we used 8 years ago. So we have to find ways to replicate similar to what we used to have till this generation, which ain't easy for any company in the filmmaking industry. So we have to keep that in mind. But so far what they published here, it's great so far. So minor tweaks, that's probably all it needs. And in my opinion, it will be good. So anyone out there complaining about aging, not validated, okay, that's just part of narration. Please go watch the previous Shrek films and you'll understand what it means about the fact that they age, including herself, that she was a child in the latest film and now she's grown up to be a teenager or a young adult. She probably looks like more like a young adult. Even Fiona literally aged, so I don't know why people are so surprised about that. And yeah, please, like, give it a chance. It's still too early, and please take it easy. Don't destroy me in the comments. It was great. I really enjoyed it. I hope y'all give this a chance because Shrek 5 is like a movie that a lot of people have been waiting for. A lot of people love Shrek. They grew up with Shrek. I grew up with Shrek. It became the biggest meme back in the days, and it will pretty much, the memes are gonna get revived. There's already memes being made about this whole like Shrek on Temu, how it looks like the poor quality ish. But then again, people are just making stupid memes just to harass the people that put the effort into this. So that's just unnecessary, even though the memes are funny, but it's just unnecessary, people. So let's just not go overboard with this. Let's just give them some time. Then we'll see. If they keep it the same and all that, then that's one thing. But in my opinion, if they do minor changes, that's all it takes. Because overall, I think the movie is great. At least, again, from the 27 seconds that we watched. So we'll see. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching this. Hope you all enjoyed my explanation. I hope you guys enjoyed my analysis on this. It may not be the most crazy, mind-blowing analysis that I did. I just took the majority of what we can see here, including we saw Pinocchio, the donkey, the expressions, the color grading, the textures they rendered and stuff like that. So overall, yeah, I think it looks good. There are some minor tweaks that needs to be happen, and pretty much in that I mean the expressions feel a little bit off. Maybe they can change that with a little bit of different animation styling that they can do. Maybe. But other than that, it's not as bad as like the whole situation with what happened with Sonic 1 when it comes to design phase. I mean, it's not the best, it's not the worst, but it's not the same situation what happened with the Sonic 1 movie or anything like that. So yeah, thank you so much everybody for watching this. If you guys need any more information or any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer in the best of my abilities and research that I did about this film after I literally reacted to this on this video. I'm basically doing some research afterwards, after this video is uploaded, and then I will be able to answer any questions I find about this film, because I'm really hyped about this film. I'm really intrigued, and I can't wait to watch this film when it comes out 1 year later, which is gonna be a while. But I'm super excited. Thank you so much for watching this, and I hope to see you guys again. And also, keep the onions away, keep the ogre away, keep literally your stink away because you smell like ogre farts, and I'll see you all next time on some more awesome reactions and gameplay videos. Take care, have a good one, and I'll see you all again. And stop eating those fucking onions. They're nasty. You smell like fart. Bye!